If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard in Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Voting isn't just going to the polls on Election Day anymore. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, breaks down the options your state offers for casting a ballot, empowering you to decide when and where to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in a low voter turnout. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, takes the guesswork out of the voting process. Go to Ballot Ready for a nonpartisan guide to your entire ballot. From there, you can compare candidates based on stances on issues, biographies, and endorsements, and save your choice to use when you vote by mail or in voting booth. You can even request your absentee ballot or make a plan to vote early on Election Day. This election matters. Make sure you have a plan to vote and vote informed. This year, with changes to polling places and vote-by-mail laws as a result of COVID, it is more important than ever to have a plan to vote. Local elected officials affect our lives every day. They decide who to prosecute, monitor, or quality of our drinking water, and choices for the leadership of our schools. 30% of our voters take the time to vote and then leave some part of their ballot blank. This is a missed opportunity to choose the leaders of our communities. It's okay if you're unfamiliar with some of the local positions. We recommend hosting a ballot party. Get together with your friends or over Zoom, split up the research, and go through your ballots together.
All right, everyone, we are back on the channel with a little special treat. We have a few topics we're going to be covering here, and then we have a little countdown to start us off. But as always, DVD Freak here.
And Dan the Beast 94. What the fuck is up?
Oh, man, the ceiling. But anyway, what do we have today, pal?
All right, so today we are going to be talking about our top 5 favorite themes of all time. Obviously, this is going to be outside of WWE as well, and not just WWE related. So, I guess I might as well start off first. I mean, when it comes to theme, I think themes are like the most important aspect. That's what creates the superstar, and obviously, that's what creates the electricity. Before the opening bout, before you go out there and just tear it up. Hopefully you have a good match. Hopefully, sometimes you don't. But, it gets your body going. So, when it comes, especially when it comes to themes, watching them, through TV or going to live events, it's what builds you up, whether it's storyline purposes or it's because it's your favorite superstar. And, sometimes it creates some type of demeanor as well. So, either you get hyped up or it makes you look, you try to look like a badass or, you get your head bobbing and it's like, oh, I'm really feeling this. But anyway, I might as well start off with my first one. This is going to be outside of WWE, of course. Every time I've heard his theme, I was so electrified. I would get so excited. I felt like I was in like one of those stare down moments where it was like, all right, it's about to go down. And this is actually one guy who never really had a proper opportunity competing for WWE. He only had one match, and this was like, probably like 3 decades after his career started. You guys probably already know who I'm talking about. He had a match in NXT against Tyler Breeze, and it is Jushin Thunder Liger. Now, obviously, he had a different theme but in NXT, but like I seen him one time. He had a match against Flip Gordon ROH superstar Flip Gordon at Northeast Wrestling Thunder, and obviously the show name basically revolved around him. And he didn't really work a lot of U.S. dates at this time. Obviously he was on his way to retiring. Obviously he retired, I think, like the beginning of this year, and was supposed to be inducted into the Hall of Fame for WWE this year. But every time I heard his theme, like even that one time I met him live, it was like I was like, oh my god, like is this the same guy right now who had a great series of matches with Brian Pillman and Owen Hart, Great Muda? Like he's one of my favorites of all time. Like Owen Hart's number one, but when it comes to number two, Jushin Liger is like by far like one of the greatest of all time. I mean, you gotta thank the guy. He invented the shooting star press. If it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be no Billy Kidman. So that's the way I see it.
Or botched Matt Sydal.
Oh yeah, we're not.
Or Evan Bourne. But it's funny you mentioned Owen Hart. You may want to hang me for this, but when it comes to my all-time least favorite theme song, Owen Hart.
Well, you know what? It really depends on what theme you're talking about, because I'm going to be honest with you. I do not like the high energy theme.
That's the one I'm talking about.
It was tolerable, but I loved his theme from late 97 towards like the end of his career. Obviously, you heard the sirens going off, and it's like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I fucking love that theme. That's probably like my favorite Owen Hart theme of all time.
Yeah, I'm talking about his earlier one.
And you know what? It sucked because it was practically recycled as it was anyway when he was part of High Energy with Coco Beware. So.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. We didn't clarify this at the beginning, just in case there's idiotic confusion. This is just wrestler themes, not pay-per-view themes, TV themes, nothing like that. So strictly entrance themes.
Right.
My number 5 is the only one that's outside of anything mainstream. Well, you could say it's mainstream. CM Punk's Ring of Honor theme. Do you remember that one?
Oh boy. I mean, not that I recall. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had. Didn't he have cult of personality at one point in his Ring of Honor career, or was it?
Yeah, let me get the title here. It was Miseria Conter by AFI.
Okay.
I would play it, but I don't want to get the video flagged. So, yeah. I personally love that theme. It's one of those ones that gets you hyped. And if he were to go to, like, I know he can use Call to Personality because he used it for other promotions as well as UFC. But, like, if he were to, I don't think this will ever happen, but if he were to ever wrestle for, like, AEW, this is the theme I'd want. It's the most straight edge. I think it's the theme that's most him. It fits that personality, no pun intended. But, yeah, I just love that theme, and I love his Ring of Honor career. I love just how he would just mess with the crowd. Did you ever see the the Bryan Danielson match where there was a kid in the crowd who yelled at Punk, "I hate you," and then CM Punk just goes over the ropes and he's like, "I hope your parents die." Like, it's on YouTube. Like, that's the CM Punk that I just love. I'm not the biggest fan of, babyface. Don't get me wrong. I love Punk, but I'm not a fan of babyface WWE Punk. I love that just heel. I'm better than you because I'm straight edge. That's the only reason he was better than these people, because he was straight edge. Right. And I love how he signed his WWE contract on the title. Like that, I love the CM Punk of the early 2000s for sure. But yeah, that was such a great theme.
All right. So coming in at number 4, this might be probably one of your personal favorites. It's definitely a personal favorite of mine, but every time I heard the theme, it just made me think like, all right, like it's my time. It's showtime, you know. And no, it's not Sting, so don't worry. But it's actually going to be At Last, Christian. So obviously, as he broke out, you know, as a single star in 2001 after Edge won the King of the Ring, you know, it was like Christian. You know, I always
Yep.
thought like if I ever had an intro for my channel, I would cut the Christian part out, and it would just be like, "At last, you're on," and then it's like, boom, the end of Beast '94, like right there in brawn gold letters.
Do you remember when he had like the Randy Orton sparks for the entrance as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a lot of themes, unfortunately. Which I don't think that's a good thing. You should never have too many themes because then it's hard for the audience to connect you with a certain theme.
Right.
But don't worry, we will be visiting him on this list later on. My number 4 is Whatever by not by Chris Benoit. It was Chris Benoit's theme. He is my all-time favorite wrestler, and whenever that theme hits, you know someone's about to get their ass fucking kicked. I was gonna say you know someone's about to die, but that would have been a bad pun. So we're gonna, yeah, I stopped myself before I let it escape my mouth. But yeah, you know somebody was gonna get wrecked. Like the Rabid Wolverine, intense. He would walk down with a purpose. He wouldn't miss a beat. Like he was walking to that ring, and that opponent's like, well, this is it. You know. So it had a great chorus too, and everything about that song is great. I listened. That's one of the few wrestling songs I actually listen to, like when I'm driving. You know, like I love that theme, and it's not just because he's my favorite wrestler. I think it's a great theme that really fits him, and I know his son David said that if he were ever to wrestle, he would want to use Whatever. I doubt he could because I'm pretty sure WWE owns that, but that might be one of those things where like, you know what? Take it. So if I were to see David come out to that theme, I don't think it'll ever happen, but there might be some tears there.
Yeah. You know, and hopefully that time comes sooner or later. I mean, obviously his father's death is practically overshadowing his, you know, his potential career. But we'll see. You know, we will definitely see. But coming in at number 3, this is going to be my curveball here, like something that people probably never seen coming, and it's actually from the Forcible Entry soundtrack, and it's from the band Stereo Mud, and is actually Raven's theme. Where it's like dun, 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 dun. I fucking love that theme. Like ever since I heard it in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, that was probably like my favorite SmackDown video game of all time. You know, outside of Here Comes the Pain, which is probably considered the best SmackDown game out of the series, but Shut Your Mouth was the game for me. You know, the roster was stacked. You know, obviously this was around the time after WWE acquired ECW and WCW talents after buying out the companies. And you know, when it comes to Ravens theme, you know, I see myself in like this Brandon Lee Crow character. You know, it's like you have like a black leather jacket, you come down, you know, hair's all slicked, you get on the top turnbuckle and you just spread your wings. It's like I fucking love it. It's probably one of my favorite things. And you know, when it comes to Raven, he's probably one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time, and not just like in-ring ability, but just like psychology. You know, I could compare him to Jake Snake. So
yeah, I was just thinking that, you know, he's kind of like that early 2000s, late 90s Jake when he wasn't boozing and passing out at Legends of Wrestling or Heroes of Wrestling, whatever the hell it was. But yeah, anyway, that's a show we should review sometime, Heroes of Wrestling. But anyway, yeah, I even liked some of his TNA stuff. His rivalry with Jeff Hardy was cool. And it's just like it's unfortunate. Like I think he would have fit in really well in the. Some people might disagree, but I think he would have fit in the Ruthless Aggression era if they really let him shine. With a lot of that talent, and I'm surprised they never brought him back for, you know, the WWE CW, as I like to call it.
Yeah. The only time they actually brought Raven back was when they did the Hardcore Championship DVD in 2000,
Yeah.
what, 16, and he practically just, sat there and talked about the hardcore division, at that time. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. But speaking of Jake the Snake Roberts, my number 3 is Jake Roberts. It's just, he's my favorite Golden Era wrestler. And it's just like, the theme itself is so dark. And he was such a dark character. And I don't want to like suck his dick here or anything, but I love his promos because he always said, screaming and yelling, that doesn't get the point across. But if you talk very quiet, people are forced to listen.
I love that. You know what? That's from, what, TNT? Like one of the Tuesday Night Titan shows?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Oh, my gosh.
Like, if you talk very quiet and brooding, people are going to listen over the Ultimate Warrior screaming about a rocket ship. But, yeah, Jake Roberts, this theme fit him perfect. I'm glad they never changed it. When he came back in 2014, was it? Yeah, 2014 for the homeschool. Jesus Christ, the old school Raw.
Yep.
That crowd was fucking dead for that show. Because once I heard Jake Roberts come out, I was like, holy shit. Because that was one of the few Raws I watched back then. Because I heard some rumors. I was actually supposed to be at that Raw, but didn't end up going. Yeah, you had CM Punk in there, and of course he had the Snake with Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool moment, hearing that theme again, because you knew, Jake Roberts was coming out, and still one of the coolest wrestlers I've met. And, say what you want about the Hall of Fame. I know I'm very against the WWE Hall of Fame, but there are some people that really care about it and really shine in that moment. And Jake Roberts was one of those ones I'm like, good for you. The Hall of Fame's bullshit, but good for you. You had that moment. And fuck you, Vince McMahon, for not giving that to Vader. Anyway, what's your next pick?
All right, so going with my number 2 pick, I always enjoyed this theme. It's one of those it's one of those themes that you could definitely head bob to. It's the Brood or Gangrel. I
Ooh,
always
yeah.
loved that theme.
Yeah.
Every time I played that theme, it gets me so hyped up, and then oh my God, it's like one of those themes that just makes you want to spit out your water or like your blood or Kool-Aid, as what. It's one of those things that baffles me because like back in the day, they used to call the bloodbaths, but when it came to Gangrel, spitting out whatever the hell was in his cup, they would call it the red liquid. They wouldn't necessarily call it blood, which kind of baffled me because it's like, all right, you got the bloodbath, but you can't sit there and say, hey, Gangrel's spitting blood and spitting it out to the crowd. But
Well, yeah, what is it, like ectoplasm or some shit? Like, what else would it be?
I don't know, probably Kool-Aid or something, Hawaiian Punch. But other than that, I fucking loved that theme, whether he was with Edge and Christian or whether he was with the New Brood with the Hardys. That theme always stood out to me. So.
Yeah. So my number 2 is actually a tie. Coincidentally, the same wrestler, Christian. I love his TNA theme with a passion. I love that song. It's actually a slight remix of the Evanescence song, Last Breath. Holding My Last Breath.
Yeah.
Something like that, which I like that song as well. So I love the instrumental version. You have the countdown in the beginning for Christian Cage. But I also really love his 2005 theme, Just Close Your Eyes. I like the female version better. I don't really like the 2009 one with the male cover. I think the female version's better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a tie between those two. I know a lot of people love his 2005 theme, And it's unfortunate that wasn't his theme for longer, because obviously he would leave the company later in the year. And then he went to TNA and debuted another fucking great song. So, yeah, it was just... It's one of those ones I can't pick between the two, but I figured before we name our number ones, do you have any like honorable mentions you want to talk about?
I do have a couple honorable mentions. I actually have probably like two NWO themes. Obviously, like the original Rock House theme, but it was later like heavily like edited in 2002 when they made their debut in the WWE. I like that version of the NWO theme where it's like you don't hear so many voices, like you hear like Macho Man or Eric Bischoff. Nothing against those guys, but like I just I like it. You come out, you're throwing up the signs, for life and everything. I always loved that, and NWO is one of my favorite factions of all time. Another one would have to be NWO 2000. Obviously that faction didn't live up to the potential, despite the members of that group with Brett getting injured later in the year after getting super kicked in the head by Goldberg at Starrcade. And then you had Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, which was an oddball, but he seemingly fit. But like I said, at the same time, group didn't really go anywhere as, Brett's contract would expire in April of 2000. Another honorable mention, and I'm pretty sure Tommy from Wrestling Rampage is going to like this one, but Dan the Beast Severin, not knocking off myself here, but that theme tends to hype me up a little bit sometimes. It makes me want to come out with the gray T-shirt with the water streaks coming down. Just shave my face for one day and just have the mustache. It's like, all right, you want to see Dan the Beast, you're gonna get him. Another one, as I mentioned probably earlier before we recorded, was the Owen Hart Blackheart theme. I always enjoyed that, especially with like the sirens. Starting in the beginning, and then it's like dun, 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 and like I don't know, something about that theme always like hyped me up. I listen to that occasionally on a basis, and then my last favorite theme, probably like a lot of people don't know about this, but for people who've watched Ring of Honor, Claudio Castagnoli, Chris Hero, the Kings of Wrestling. I'm sure there's not a lot of rap fans, but like when it comes to that theme, like I always get hyped up where it's like KOW King. So it's like, it makes me want to hype up a crowd or something. But yeah, when it comes to those themes, those are, if we had a top 10, those would probably be like my upper top 5 themes right there. So.
All right. Well, I have a bunch, so I'm just gonna start spouting off. Balls Mahoney. I love his theme. Like the Sandman. Sandman's my favorite ECW guy. So, Goldust. I always thought his theme was perfect for the character. So, his theme almost made my top 5 list. This may surprise some people, but Hulk Hogan. I may not be a fan of Terry Bollea, but Hogan I have kind of a soft spot for, I guess. And his theme was just one of those ones that whenever you hear it, you mark out. And another one I probably should have put on my top 5 list, but I forgot, is Rey Mysterio's WCW theme before he was unmasked.
Okay.
You remember that one?
Yes.
That's another one of my favorite themes. Roddy Piper's bagpipe theme. Even Bret Hart. I thought he had a kick-ass theme. What are some other ones? Oh, Vince McMahon. I thought his... It's one of those ones that, like, you can't help but just sing along with it.
Right.
And some more recent ones. Shinsuke Nakamura. I liked his first WWE theme before they put the stupid rap lyrics in it. If you rap, I guess I don't know, but it was bad. Bobby Roode's Glorious. That was a great theme. That whole entrance was great. So thank you for ruining that, Vince. And then Cody, well, just Cody now, but Cody Rhodes' current theme. I know he used it in NWA a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to see it live because I went to the first Dynamite. That entrance gave me goosebumps.
That theme he actually used when he first broke out in the independent scene after being released.
Yeah.
I actually seen him at the first Northeast Wrestling show, which was actually Thunder, when he faced Sami Callihan. So, since you named a lot, I think I have a couple more honorable mentions. I mean, how can you not mention Stone Cold? I mean, obviously when you
Yeah.
hear the chatter, you get pumped up about that. Chris Jericho, I always been a fan of his early theme. Like 1999, 2000. It's like you hear the clock down, fireworks go off, and then like I say, you're spreading your wings.
Well, his debut is one of my favorites.
Oh, I love it. That's my top one.
Yeah. Yeah. With The Rock in the ring, you have that beautiful countdown, you have that pyro. Even like then that fucking pop from the crowd, man. Like, oh, that gives me goosebumps. But anyway, continue.
Another one, a lot of people don't mention him, is Mike Awesome. I loved his theme in ECW. His was very original because obviously it was singing about Mike Awesome and how he was the modern day gladiator from the rising sun, and then it's like awesome.
He's a sad case. He really is.
Yeah. Final countdown for Bryan Danielson when he was in Ring of Honor. I always loved that theme. Oh gosh, what is another one? Well, you know what? I have so many. Like Benoit. I could definitely put Benoit on the list. Actually, both Benoit themes when he was in WWE. I thought they were good. And you know what? Since I talked about him recently, Jeff Jarrett. I loved his what was it, like his 98, 99 theme once he got like the mullet cut and everything, and don't piss me off coming out with Deborah and Owen, world tag team champions. Yeah, I always liked that version of Jarrett, and probably like that era of Jarrett, and then going to like TNA. But I guess we're gonna get to number one here.
Wait, I have some more honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, all right. I'll speed this one up. I actually really like Jeff Hardy's Modest theme from TNA. That was self-performed.
Yep.
Yep. He had too many themes. That was my problem. Like he had like Another Me, which was good as well, but Rick Rude, his WWF theme. I love that one because it's just like a spit in your face theme. Like you just got that I'm better than you vibe. Like that fuck you. I love it. Oh god, I had some other ones. What were they? Now I forgot. Maybe they'll come to me. All right, what's your number one?
All right, so my number one right off the back, Four Horsemen. I'm trying to think of like what year. It was practically the theme after Ric Flair basically retired and he had like that retirement ceremony. You hear like the horses galloping, and then all of a sudden you see Barry coming out with Tully, JJ, Arn. I love that theme. Obviously this symbol right here is a symbol of excellence, and that's probably like another one of my favorite factions of all time. Probably my favorite faction of entirely. Just they had such a great run, in the '80s. I would say that group initially started factions. Like that was like the first faction in professional wrestling, and nobody's really seen that assembled before at that time. You had kayfabe wise, you had Arn and Ole Anderson. They were related because they were related to Ric Flair. Then they ended up bringing in Tully, which Tully is like one of my favorite superstars of the '80s. Him and Magnum TA just had one of the most killer matches at Starrcade '85. I will forever praise that match. But when it comes to themes, Four Horsemen coming out, looking so sophisticated, but can still kick your ass with a suit on. It's like I love that. And Ric Flair lived up to that gimmick. He wasn't a gimmick. No gimmicks needed. Shout out to Chris Candido there, but still, no gimmicks needed. So.
All right, I remember my other honorable mentions. Slow Chemical, Kane. That was kind of his Ruthless Aggression era theme, and then they fucking changed it in like 2012, I think. I even like Randy Orton's "Burning My Light" a lot. That was a good theme. Doink the Clown's heel theme. It didn't last too. I love me some Doink the Clown, right? Matt Bourne, Doink the Clown. But, for his 93 like heel run and all that, I love it. But my number one is such an odd choice that like nobody will be able to get this. My Time, which was Triple H, he used it very briefly, and then Chyna also used it.
Okay.
I just, for some reason, love that song. It gets you hyped. It wasn't used too often. Like I said, Triple H did have it very early, like
Right.
2000, and then Chyna had it as well.
Yeah, because when he brought that theme, as soon as he started breaking out as a singles competitor, he had he kind of had like this corporate theme. Not the Vince McMahon theme, but he actually had like a corporate theme. I think it was called like Corporate Player. And then he had an instrumental to My Time, which was called Higher Brain Pattern, which I actually like the instrumental rather than the actual lyrics. But I do enjoy that theme from time to time. Obviously, like you said, it started off with Triple H, and then Chyna used it. And then later on, they cut the version up for when Stephanie McMahon was using it for a while when she came back in 2001 as the co-owner of ECW, which was fucking stupid. But yeah, other than that, I did enjoy that theme. I really didn't think about that.
I thought of another one, Dusty Rhodes, American Dream. Oh
Okay.
my God, I love that theme.
You know what? Two themes that actually come to mind. Zach Gowen when he was using Seether.
Oh God, I don't even remember his theme. Well, Seether, he had Seether.
Yeah, it was
wow.
Nobody's gonna stand in my way or something like that.
I'll have to listen to that one.
And then Maven.
I don't even remember his theme. Oh God,
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Do you have a least? What are some of your least favorites?
You remember Kerwin White?
Oh God, yes.
It was so bad. I hated it. Or the other one, Dan, it wasn't my fault. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'll tell you what, man. He was cool when I met him. I have his fucking autograph, and that's the only personalized autograph I have ever owned. Oh, where is it? Here it is. He wrote, "It wasn't my fault."
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But some of my least favorites. I hated Owen Hart's theme in the mid to early 90s. I just wasn't a fan. I hate that fucking theme. He deserved better.
The high energy.
He deserved such a better theme. And like I said, I'm not shitting on him. Like it's a compliment. He deserves something better.
Another theme that I hate. Oh my god, and this is so modern too, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people got sick of it by like at least like a month or two after was the New Day.
God.
I hate it. It's so annoying. Oh my gosh, the Shield or Roman Reigns. I mean, if you're gonna be a heel, at least change your theme.
I hate Becky Lynch's theme with a dying passion. Sami Zayn's theme. There's a lot of modern ones I could list, man. Who else right now? Oh God. Honestly, I wasn't a fan of Undertaker's Ministry theme.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of his Big Evil theme either, but I love Roland. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, themes.
Candice Michelle.
Candice Michelle. Yeah.
Oh god, that theme was awful. I know Brian
Her,
Alvarez hated that theme.
fucking Tori Wilson.
I remember it.
Oh
Didn't Michelle McCool recycle Tori Wilson's theme at one point?
yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. There's so many recycled themes. It's like, oh my gosh, like just like why? Like, you gotta be more creative than that.
I will be in the minority here, but I hate No More Words, Jeff Hardy's theme. I hate that fucking song.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I know people, now that he's back in like a singles position, people are begging for that theme, and they are bringing it back. But I hate it. I never liked it. Even in 2009, I'm like, oh, this sucks. Bring back his old one.
Right. Oh my gosh. What the fuck's another one? Wow. There's so many. It's like probably John Cena.
Oh man, come on.
No, like that theme. No, like I could
Which
tolerate
one?
I could tolerate Thugonomics.
See, I like that. I like Word
I like that one. See,
Yeah.
I like that one. It's just, time is up. My time. It's like, oh my gosh.
It got old. I think it went too long.
Yeah, it got so bland after a while, but obviously that's became, his signature. That's his signature, like right there. It's his theme. As soon as people hear it, it's like, oh shit, here comes Cena. Like everybody knows who it is.
That's the point.
Right. But
I actually. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, going back to like themes that I actually like that I totally forgot to mention. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Blake and Murphy. Like obviously, like Blake Murphy before he was like a single star.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a Skrillex type theme, but
Okay.
it was so once like the beat dropped, it was like holy shit! Like it was so it's a barn burner for me. Like I love that theme. Oh god, I love the corporate ministry. I love the second version of it. It was such an odd pairing at the time, but it was cool for what it was. Oh boy, I'm not even gonna lie. I actually enjoyed Too Cool with Rikishi. The dance.
Are you talking about Banging It?
No, the other one.
I like Banging It.
I mean, I like Banging It too, but I think Too Cool. I used to try and do like the Worm, but I was stuck doing the drill by fucking Grandmaster Sexy.
Yeah. Oh man, sometimes I forget he actually died, man. That one was sad, but
yeah, you know what? I actually met Lawler probably like a month after his son died, and I just remember just giving him like grief, like, hey, I apologize for your son's loss, for your loss. And he was just like, oh yeah, I appreciate it. And that was actually the same day he signed my copy of the Jerry Lawler DVD. He actually signed the front in silver Sharpie. He opened it up, he personalized it in black, and then he signed his name on the other side. But he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to.
Yeah, that's really cool of him.
But yeah, I basically just told him, I was like, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, but getting back to themes here. Oh my gosh, how can I forget about this one? Do you remember when Chuck Palumbo came back with the biker gimmick?
Yeah.
I actually like that theme. I'm not gonna lie.
Chuck Palumbo.
Or Kurt Hawkins. In the middle of it when he was teaming up with Zack Ryder.
I don't remember that one.
I think it was by, I don't know, like Disciples or something like that, some type of band name like that. But I thought that was a pretty hype theme.
All right, I have a few. Jimmy Wang Yang. His theme was so bad that it was good.
Oh god.
It was so it's like Batman and Robin. It's so goddamn stupid that it works.
Yeah, you had to put the fucking dog. Oh, my dog.
yes. It's one of the worst themes ever, but it worked. He fucking sold it. He would dance to it. Remember, like walking down the ramp.
You know what? Now that you say that, one theme that I fucking hate was the fucking Spirit Squad, where it's like Mickey, Mikey.
Oh man! Speaking of themes I hate, DX. I was never a fan of DX's theme.
Yeah.
I like Shawn Michaels' theme. I like Triple H's. I like both his themes.
I can't stand Shawn Michaels. You know what? That's actually one I can't stand. As great of an athlete he was and how much of a douchebag he was behind the camera, his theme was just like so conceited, but at the same time it's like what the fuck are you actually doing? Breaking hearts? I mean, it's not my fault you lost your goddamn smile. Like
well, it's not his fault he got beat up by a Marine. But anyway, I hate Shawn Michaels. Do you prefer the female version over the male version? Well, the Shawn Michaels version? Am I wrong, or did Sherry Martel put some vocals in that? Yeah.
Did. I honestly prefer the Shawn Michaels version. I think the female version is just as worse, but I think tolerably I can probably tolerate the Shawn Michaels version of him singing it.
I'll tell you what. One of my least favorite wrestlers of all time, I think JJ might shoot me for this, is DDP. He is a great guy.
Yeah.
But his theme song, every time I hear it, that fucking DDP. Fuck you. Yeah, here's your diamond cutter, motherfucker, right there. I hate that theme. I even met him once, and he was cool. It's nothing against him. I just never liked DDP. He's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. Great person. I never liked him as a wrestler, though.
Speaking of like WCW wise, one of my favorite WCW themes was when Macho Man came back in '99, and he had like the theme, and it was like, "What up, Mach?" It's like,
"What up, Mach?"
I fucking love that theme. I actually prefer that over Pomp and Circumstance any day. Like if he were to come back like during that 2001 invasion, I can actually see him coming out to that theme and just like wailing. He could have probably had like a feud with like Triple H or something.
I mean, I don't think we mentioned Edge. He has one of my favorites and one of my least favorites. You and I talked about this in the 2002 review. I hate that fucking song. But I like his new one. I like his original as well, so.
Yeah, I always tolerated Edge. Yeah, his 2002, theme by Rob Zombie, I really don't think it really fit his character at the time. But obviously they were trying to pull him over as like a baby face, like a big baby face at that time as part of the SmackDown brand. Which later, they changed it up to Alter Bridge, which I'm glad they did, because that is a way better theme than Rob Zombie.
I'll tell you what, that Rob Zombie one might be my least favorite of all time.
Yeah.
And one that I can't believe we didn't mention yet, Eddie Guerrero. His final theme was just amazing.
What was it, like Gangster Lane or something like that?
It was like the lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah, because the last one.
Yeah.
The last theme I recall him having was the one he came out to at No Mercy, and it was called Gangster Lane.
Oh, did he have a different one at No Mercy?
Yeah.
Oh, so they gave him a new theme and everything? That sucks.
Yeah, because like at first, like it was like mid 2005, he did have like the lie, cheat, steal.
Yeah,
theme.
That's the one I'm referencing.
But then they changed it up to Gangster Lane, which was okay. I mean, some of the lyrics were kind of like cringing, like, but like it fit him. And then obviously he went back to the original, lie, cheat, and steal theme before he died. But Yeah, Eddie Guerrero's theme. I actually always loved Latino Heat when he first arrived in WWE, which I actually do have a Latino Heat T-shirt. I've still yet to wear that because God forbid I wear that in public and they're like, "You're Latino," and it's like, nah, I embrace the culture. That's it. Nah.
I even like Chavo's. Oh my god, I'm gonna get so much shit for this. I prefer Chavo over Eddie, but um, I like Chavo's theme. You're laughing. I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
man, I like Chavo Guerrero. I do.
yeah. Well, no, it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually just got done watching one of his interviews with Chris.
Yeah, I watched that last night. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
watched a glimpse of it today. He was talking about like the whole Kerwin White situation. And
We're
I
turning
was,
you white, pal.
yeah. Like how everybody nowadays when they see him, they're just like, "Ooh, Chavo," and it's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
signature now.
I love
Like,
that theme. Do you
it
remember?
wasn't.
Oh god, this is really scraping the barrel. Do you remember Vladimir Kozlov?
Oh,
Do
don't
you
even
remember
get.
his first theme? I actually really liked his theme.
I don't even think he had a first theme. Wasn't it just like pure
Well,
silence?
it was silent for a while, and then he would have the spotlight. But eventually, they did give him a theme.
Yeah, it was like doom doom doom
Yeah,
doom.
I liked it. I thought it worked.
Yeah, I liked it for what it was. You know, he definitely could have been a top heel at that time, like as like a Russian, but obviously that didn't really work out, and he ended up becoming tag team champions with fucking Santino, which
Oh
was
god, don't talk about that. No,
God,
no, 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 no.
God forbid I remember that, but it's
Oh
one of
man, yeah, that was bad. Remember they had the tea party?
oh that I thought that was funny, but it was so bad.
No, it wasn't funny.
Um, Let me see what else. I actually enjoyed X Pac's theme. Whether it was the theme that he came out to when he came back, or X Factor with Just Incredible and Albert, like, are you dealing with the X Factor? Uncle Cracker. I thought it was
Uncle
but
Cracker.
it was like,
Oh man.
that was such a good theme for what it was, and I finally thought at that time, all right, X Pac, he's finally the leader of his own pack. He's finally gonna break out, and then it's like, nope, the guy was so injury prone by that time. It was like, all right, just throw the whole guy away.
Um, this one's kind of out of nowhere, but I think Sting. I like his TNA theme a lot. I don't know
Yeah.
about you. His WCW theme was good, but then his WWE theme made me want to shoot myself.
Something about his WWE theme. Like if you listen to the opening intro to his theme, after like the whole crow sound effects and everything,
Yeah.
like the intro for that theme is so similar. I'm not sure if you remember this team, but they were known as the Unholy Alliance, where it was
Yeah.
the team of Undertaker and Big Show. They sound so similar.
Yeah. I hate Big Show's theme. I don't like Big Show anyway, but
I like his original theme when he came to WWE. Like when he first, arrived, like that Big Show theme, I'll tolerate. But then he got all country, and he became like, oh god,
I'll
like
tell you
no.
what, whenever I hear, well, it's the Big Show, I'm like, oh, here's the boredom.
You
Oh,
know,
God.
whose theme I really enjoyed. It was actually his first theme. When WWE relaunched its ECW brand, when Monty Brown came to WWE as Marcus Corvan, and it's like, oh, just call me Smooth. I fucking
Yeah.
love. I don't know why I love that theme. That theme stuck out, so bad like a sore thumb. But it was like one of those themes that I can never forget. And then the Basham brothers, when they were part of JBL's cabinet.
I love JBL's cabinet.
Yeah. That was a good one. That theme was actually a good one. Um, Another one that I actually did tolerate was La Resistance.
Okay. I'm trying to remember that one.
But something about that theme. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I clearly do because it's one of my favorite matches of all time. They used that theme for the packaging for Ric Flair and Undertaker for WrestleMania 18.
Okay. Okay. I remember they had the fucking poodle. Oh,
Yeah.
man. But this one, I'll give you points if you remember. Do you remember Shannon Moore's Cruiserweight theme when he was in WWE?
Oh my God! Hold on. It was like, what was it? No.
It was like, dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun. Yeah, that one. I fucking love that. Yeah, I love it.
Or you know what? Another theme that I actually liked because it fit him so well. I'll be surprised if you remember this, but do you remember Nathan Jones?
Oh, yes, I remember Nathan Jones. That's, dude,
First,
that's my favorite WrestleMania.
because first it was Nathan Jones, but then later on they scratched some of the portion of the song, and it ended up becoming Garrison Cades.
Oh, my God. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
What are some other ones? I had a really bad one. I can't remember what it was. Oh, Samoa Joe. I'll tell you what. That's one of the worst theme songs I've ever heard in my life. His WWE one. Even he hates it, and he was pretty open about that. Oh my God, that's one of the worst theme songs of all time. Oh,
Yeah.
man. I do like Brock Lesnar's theme though. I also like that he's had that theme most of his run. Of course, he had that really generic rock one at the beginning, but
yeah, that was well, you know, he was just starting off, but then the theme developed and it got better. Oh my gosh, who the fuck was I just thinking of? Oh man, it was just in my head. Fuck. Damn, I can't think about it now. Oh my god. Uh, gosh, there's so many. I was just thinking. It was like ruthless aggression.
that's the peak of themes.
Yeah. What the fuck? Like, you know, theme songs back in that time from like 2000 to like 2005, 2006, you know, those themes were so fucking good, so memorable, and it's like it's one of those things that you really couldn't take back. Oh, you know what? Billy Kidman.
I don't remember his theme, but obviously I know.
It was like, you know, you could run if you want to, but you can't hide. I fucking love that theme. That one usually hypes me up sometimes too. I'm surprised I didn't put that in my top 5.
I actually really like Hurricane's theme.
Yeah, I can tolerate that one. Well, but you know, after the whole Mighty Molly bullshit.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Do the her cycle and how boom with the fucking frying. What is another one? Oh my gosh. I could probably say like APA.
No, I didn't like that theme all that much.
Or before they were the APA, they were known as the Alkalites.
Yeah.
And were actually managed by the Jackal. You got to hear that theme, Don Callis. That was actually a pretty nice theme. I actually enjoyed that. Oh boy, what's another theme I could probably think of?
I gotta.
You know what?
Go ahead.
One theme that I really couldn't fucking tolerate was when WWF brought in the Insane Clown Posse and they used the Oddities theme. Which I'm glad they can't. Yeah, I'm glad they can't air that on the network because that just would have been like, oh, what the fuck.
I have a piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
Who is one WWF wrestler who never had a theme, except for video games? The video games gave him a theme, but he never had a theme like live action, like actually making his entrance in the ring.
Oh wow. Oh shit. No way.
It's WWF. I accidentally said that part. So.
Was it Andre the Giant?
Yep.
Because you know something. Now that I'm thinking about that, there has been like, you know, when I've heard his theme, that's actually an unused theme. That's actually a theme that he was supposed to use.
Yeah.
But he just never ended up using it because obviously, like, he ended up passing away and everything. So.
Well, he had Ave Santanis, I think. Oh my god, I think that's what it is, which I actually really like that song. It's considered a devil worshipping song, but I just like the song. So, yeah, they had that one, and then I think SmackDown versus Raw 2005 had a different one. It was just kind of an instrumental.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think he had like two completely different themes by like 2005, like, or the first SmackDown versus Raw and then SmackDown versus Raw 2006. I think there were like two completely different themes.
Yeah, I don't know why I said 5. I meant 6.
Yeah. Well, I know now. I know nowadays too. Like, his theme is completely different, like in WWE games.
I think it's Ave Satanis, if I'm correct.
You know what? I'm surprised we haven't mentioned this, but one of my favorite themes of all time, Hollywood Blondes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's so good, and I remember I sent a photo out to Brian Pillman Jr. It was a photo of me and him, and I was like, hey, next version of the Hollywood Blondes, and he was just like, oh, possibly. Like, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. Like, I would probably like use my last name as my first name, and we could be like a double Brian or something like that.
I'm surprised we haven't mentioned Macho Man. He has probably the most famous theme.
Well, I did mention the Madness theme, or the Team Madness theme that he used in '99, but
okay, yeah, his graduation theme.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Another oddball one. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the British Bulldogs theme, but when he came back in '99 and he kind of had like that grungy like bulldog theme where you hear like the dog barking in the beginning and then it's like bow 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 bow.
Yeah.
The hell? And then the guy's wrestling in fucking jeans. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. Do you remember? Oh, this one sucks. Linda McMahon had a theme, which was actually yeah, but that was also used for the WrestleMania anthology menus.
Yep, I remember
that. That theme makes me want to take a razor blade into my fucking eardrum. I hate that song. Just stick a pencil in there, man. Oh my god. I hate it.
Yeah.
Shane has a great theme.
Shane has a good one. Yeah, I mean, he was using the corporation theme for a while, but then obviously after he was co-owner of WCW, it was like, all right, here comes the money, and it's like, oh, all right, Shane, I see you. Oh boy, Ken Shamrock, that used to hype me up a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Mark Henry had a great one. In his WWE run, like his later, like when he came back.
Yeah, 3-6 Mafia or something.
Yeah, somebody's gonna get their ass kicked. Yeah. Was that 3-6 Mafia?
Yeah.
Oh shit! There you go.
They did a live performance on SmackDown, and SmackDown. I think that's when they premiered that theme song, was when 3-6 Mafia performed on SmackDown. Kurt Angle, classic.
Yep.
Whether the fans were chanting "You suck" or not, it was a classic theme. Even though it was originally the Patriot, Del Wilkes, back in '97, but obviously they changed it up a little bit after that. I
hate Rikishi's.
Oh, which one? The bad man? I'm a bad man. Like, which one?
No, the dancing one.
Oh, I like that one.
I hate it. I know you mentioned it. I hate it.
I fucking love that.
I hate it. I like banging it. If we're talking about Too Cool, I like banging it.
No, I like that one too.
Do you remember when Brian Christopher came back in 2011?
Oh my gosh.
And he used banging it. and like the crowd had no clue who he was. I felt bad for him. That's
That
probably
was
why.
so sad.
That's
And
probably
then
why he killed himself.
it was like, oh, Jerry Lawler's son, and I'm sitting there like, what? Like,
I like how
oh,
you no sold. I like how you no sold the most offensive joke of the night.
yeah, that. You know what? That was so sad, but it was like, damn it. It's one of those things where it's like you wouldn't believe somebody like him would actually do something like that. But
Well, he was in jail, right?
he was in jail. I mean, I think he had like multiple like DUIs or something like that because I think he had like an alcohol problem. But like
Yeah.
even like Waller said so himself, like when they did like the autopsies, like there was like no marks. I think there was like no marks around his neck or something like that. Like something with like his collarbone or something like that. It was like,
Well, that's a good Dark Side of the Ring episode to me. But
yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that actually would be good.
But I'll tell you what, I may joke about it. I'm a very offensive person, but that one did hit me. I'm someone with I have a lot of mental illness problems, so that one did hit me because I do think it was suicide. I don't think there's any conspiracy behind his death or anything like that. Like that one, that was like, oh, that's sad. It's I understand, and you feel for Jerry Lawler because I
That
don't
was
know how many kids does he have?
I think he had another one. I think he had
Okay.
like two. I think he had like two sons.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the only one marking out when he came back in 2011, I guess.
No, I enjoyed that. Like when I
You
heard the
did?
scene,
Yeah, you did.
seeing him coming out, I was like, no fucking way. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm
Yep.
like, am I the only one who fucking knows this guy? Like, come on now,
Yeah.
Grandpa Sexy with the goggles.
He
you
did the
know?
whole dance and everything on the entrance ramp. He was
I
wearing like a fucking
love it.
button-down shirt.
You know what? I was such a fool as a kid because like when I was little, I used to think that the fucking braids that he had were fucking real, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? But yeah, nah, he was fucking. I fucking love Brian Christopher. He definitely had a lot of talent. So
Yeah, that was an unfortunate one. But speaking of Rikishi, I actually liked Yokozuna's theme a lot. It was a very like soft Japanese theme, even though he wasn't Japanese. But it was still. I liked the little soft Japanese theme because he was like this big heel. So it's the irony of having that soft Japanese theme, like you'd expect like fucking. I can't think of his name. Never mind. But you would expect it to be, some little baby-faced Chinese character, where you have this big-ass guy, Japanese quotations,
right.
coming out to this soft theme with Mr. Fuji. I love it. Mr. Miyagi, that's who I was thinking of. Like, that's like a Mr. Miyagi theme. But then you have, like, 600-pound Yokozuna. So...
I think another theme that we forgot was Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was perfect. Another honorable mention that I liked. Oh my God, he's so forgettable now because he's been gone for so long. But Sean O'Hare, when he came back when he was in WWE in 2003, and Roddy Piper was managing him. I like that theme. That was a pretty cool theme. I was surprised he actually made the cut for SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. He was actually probably one of my favorite guys to use in that game. So
Yeah. The Dudley Boys, they had a lot of themes, but I like their most recent, like the before they left WWE. I actually
yeah,
really liked them. Once you hear I think that pyro made the whole entrance. You heard the little flares come down, and then just the explosion. I got to see that live. That was awesome.
right. Another one outside of WWE, and obviously before like the whole network and everything started taking control. Kerry Von Erich actually used Rush, Tom Sawyer. Which,
Oh God. Yeah.
You know what? That was so suiting, obviously.
Hey,
With
it fits. Yeah.
modern day warrior. I was like, oh shit, like okay, like Kerry Von Erich, okay. Oh my, there's so much. There's
What
so much.
wasn't? Do you remember Raven's WCW theme? Wasn't it a ripoff of "Come as You Are"? If I'm correct, I know it was a ripoff of a Nirvana song, but which one was it?
Oh, you know what? It could have been "Come as You Are" because it was like, down, 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 down.
Yeah, or I
Yeah.
think that it was either that or Lithium. I don't think it was Lithium.
Well, I know DDP was the knockoff of Smells Like Teen Spirit. I know,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
Jericho had Jeremy from Pearl Jam.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so bad, so bad.
Should we move on to our next topic, or should we just start a different video at this
Yeah,
point?
you know what? Let's just move on to the next topic.
We're an hour in.
A topic that I brought up earlier to the freak. I was like, brother against brother matches. I always think, well, of course, because obviously I'm pretty sure brothers would know each other by now because they fucking grew up with each other. But I always feel like brothers always had the best chemistry, whether they were tag teaming with each other or whether they were facing one another. Um, I always been a fan of wrestling matches like that where there's more than a back history. So
Yeah. Um, I think the most obvious one. I'm just gonna get it out of the way now, so we can talk about good ones. I think the Hardys. They never. I mean, yeah, they had WrestleMania, but I never thought they had a really good brother versus brother rivalry.
no,
I like their 2009 rivalry, but it doesn't. It's not as big as it should have been, and it ended at Backlash. Like it didn't go further than that. The I
right.
Quit match. I'm just like, really? It's two pay-per-view matches, and then they had a stretcher match like 5 days after WrestleMania. Like and then they're like 2001. I think Vengeance. It was that was just, ugh.
So the,
But
the way I see it, I think if it came down to like sealing the deal on their rivalry, concluding the rivalry, they should have just had a ladder match.
yeah, doesn't that make fucking sense? But no, of course it makes sense, so it doesn't happen. So yeah, that's the only bad one I can think of. So let's get to the good ones.
Right. For me, I have a top three only because these matches really stand out or rivalries really stood out. I'm gonna get probably like the oddball one out of the way. Jay Briscoe versus Mark Briscoe from the fifth year festival finale from Liverpool for Ring of Honor. It was a 30-minute match, but gosh, I'm so used to seeing those guys as a tag team. They've been with Ring of Honor since the beginning, since 2002. And Jay Briscoe actually started before Mark because Mark actually didn't, I believe Mark didn't have his wrestling permit at the time because he was still like 18 or 19. And I think Jay was like maybe like a year or two older than him. But as soon as they got to WWE, or not WWE, I'm sorry, but as soon as they started tag teaming in Ring of Honor, like they're arguably, them boys, they're arguably probably one of the best tag teams, or the best tag team, in Ring of Honor. But if you guys want to see a competitive match between them facing one another, that's the match. And you will be able to tell them apart. Mark has missing front teeth. Jay's obviously
Toothless
the best.
aggression.
Yeah, toothless aggression. A little bit more than I thought. And I heard the story on how he lost his teeth too. I think Mark was standing behind Jay one day, during like a match, and Jay like threw like a steel chair back, like cocking it back, and he accidentally hit Mark in the face and knocked out his front teeth. So I thought that was pretty like you know unaware, clueless, clumsiness. I would say like, hey Mark, he's about to swing a chair. You want to move out the way, but yeah, that's like one of my favorite tag teams. That's something I really don't mention because we really don't cover Ring of Honor that much. Not as much as Rick does, but Like early Ring of Honor stuff, the Briscoes, like those were the indie Dudley boys, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah.
One more before we get to the Blood Brothers. What are your thoughts on Edge and Christian being kayfabe brothers?
Well, the way I see it, I kind of look at it as a way, like me and my brother, I would say, because we grew up since birth. Our mothers knew each other, and then obviously growing up with each other and knowing each other for the past 25, 24 years, it's a bond. So obviously you're going to know your every move, and they do look, they do have similar facial features and everything, so that's how they practically got away with it.
Yeah.
But when it comes
Blonde
to that,
hair.
yeah, blonde, long blonde hair, which,
Yep.
Christian don't got that no more. But when it came to those two, they had such good chemistry. Um, even when Christian was like the silent guy, he was the mute of the brood. He was the guy who didn't say shit for the longest time. But like when you seen like him and Edge teaming up together, it was like it was magic. It
Yeah.
clicked like the Hardys, just like the Dudleys, just like any other tag team that you could think of at that time.
Yeah, and I actually liked their No Mercy ladder match. I think the breakup was kind of weak. Like the whole, oh, mother's in the hospital, whatever. But they had a really good match on Raw. I think it was 2010, if I'm correct.
Sounds right.
Oh God, yeah, but I think they worked better as best friends than they did brothers. Because I remember when they just completely retconned the whole brother thing. Like once Edge retired, especially, that I remember Michael Cole. Oh, they're best friends. They're best friends. They're best friends. They grew up together. By the way, they're best friends. So yeah, the whole brother thing is gone. When it comes to continuity, niche. They are no longer brothers.
And
But I think it works better as best friends. And I think they should have just went that route in the beginning, personally.
And going down that route, as soon as they broke up in 2001, I think that storyline should have accumulated all the way until WrestleMania 18 when they got to the Dome. Because that would have made a lot of sense. Because obviously that's where Edge was in attendance for WrestleMania 6.
Well, Christian was there too.
Well, Christian. Well, yeah, I was going to get there, but yeah, him and Christian were in that same building for WrestleMania 6 to witness Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. So that would have made a lot of perfect sense. And, that's practically the event that pursued both men to pursue a career in professional wrestling. Obviously, Edge won the contest, and, Christian was kind of like that brother, like, well, can I come too? And that obviously happened. And, they both turned out to be successful tag team or singles competitors. Edge made a comeback this past year at the 2020 Royal Rumble. I mean, Christian made somewhat of a comeback, not necessarily, but I think it would be cool to see Christian have one more match, just one more.
I'll tell you what. I would give anything to have them win the fucking tag team titles again. I would give anything to have a 5-second pose, to have a vomiting skit in the bathroom with Mick Foley again. Like I love Edge and Christian. And I'm in the minority. I prefer Christian. Christian Cage, however you want to call him. But yeah, it sucks. I think Christian, he got dealt a bad hand, and it didn't help that Edge really did. Edge is more talented. He is. But Captain Charisma, he didn't get that name for no reason.
Right.
I think they work better as best friends, like I said. And I would give anything. You know what? Fuck Edge and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Dude, just have them fucking win the belts. The tag team title belts at this point. I would kill for Christian to have one more match. You know, he's what, 2-time world champion in WWE, and he had the Intercontinental belt, which was cool. But Edge and Christian, I think Christian's not done yet. I think Edge is kind of, at this point, I'd be okay if he retired. Christian, no. I think he has something left in the tank. It's just the concussion problem. That's the issue.
Right. Well, I think nowadays in wrestling, obviously you could get away with that because, there was a time, once Edge retired, I thought, like, oh, Edge ain't going to come back 10 years later. Oh, look at that. He's back in the 2020 Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan retiring in 2015. Oh, he'll probably won't come back. He ended up coming back about like 3 years later. Next thing you know, Droz is going to fucking come back from being paralyzed, and he's going to be like, all right, Droz, one more match. And it's like, well,
They can have a wheelchair match.
They can have or maybe like maybe him versus or Droz versus Zach Gowen. You never know who has the better event.
A handicap match.
Yeah, you know what? Exactly.
Oh God.
But going on to my next match here, which was very recent, took place around like last April, May for AEW Double or Nothing, and it was the Blood Brothers or the Brotherhood, which Cody and Goldust, or Dustin, I should say, as Goldust is now retired. I love that match. Obviously that match basically submitted, what their father started. It's basically saying like, this is what our father started, and Cody's basically keeping that legacy going. Obviously, he's doing, he's showing shades of what his father used to do as like a booker. He's one of those guys who's running the show now. He's keeping wrestling relevant again. He's kind of making it like the territorial days, but obviously AEW is more of a big, I don't want to say this without offending anybody, but maybe like a big indie promotion, a big live.
Yep.
And I mean, there's no problem with that, but the way I see it, if you're gonna run, such a big organization, don't make it look like WCW. Don't be the Kevin. Please don't. Where it's like you're inviting all your buddies, like, oh, can I bring my friend in too? Because, we're best friends, It's basically similar to that, but you really got to fill in those holes. But when it comes down to putting on a show, when it comes down to performing in front of the crowd, Cody knows how to do that. He knows how to deliver. Same thing with Dustin. Dustin, he's practically been wrestling the past 3 decades. He went from being in his father's shadow to basically submitting himself by saying, hey, I don't want to be that guy under my father's shadow. He left his father's shadow. He ended up becoming one of the most bizarre superstars in WWE history, which, in the beginning was kind of like cringing because it was like, are you really trying to suck off Scott Hall, And then they ended up having the Hollywood parking lot brawl with Roddy Piper, which was pretty good. I mean, originally it was supposed to be Razor, but obviously things change as Scott was dealing with, substance abuse at that time. And, for like the past 15, 20, 25 years, Goldust has been one of the most relative active superstars. And, the older he gets, the more he's able to, add a new move to his arsenal. Like, how would I ever think in like 2013, 14, this guy can do a Hurricanrana? Like, what the hell? Like, where the fuck did that come from? And
well, he's like 6'6" too. Like he's
right. He's a big boy. You know? But other than that, I love what he's doing now. Obviously, he's not there to put himself over. He's obviously there to put other talent over. The Naturals, or I think that's what they're called, the Naturals with QT Marshall. I'm not big on that tag team, but it works because why not? It's Goldust or it's Dustin. Anything works with Dustin. Whether you're with Booker T, whether you're with Cody, whether you're with, I don't know, fucking Santino or whoever, it's like he always makes it work. But the match we had at Double or Nothing was one of those matches that solidified a new era of wrestling, and you can't help it but sit there and cry because it's like it's one of those things where it's, you're sharing a moment. It's a moment. So,
well, first of all, it's Booker Tits. All right.
Booker, yes.
Booker T. The T stands for threesome. Don't forget. Right. But that match, I don't want to make this a rant, but I hate modern wrestling. So when I saw that Cody and Dustin match, it did make me cry because I was so far from the wrestling product at that time. I was like, wow, this is why I'm a wrestling fan. This match had in-ring ability, which is to me the most important thing. It had storytelling. It had emotion. This was a 5-star match to me. And it's not often I give a 5-star match. And that whole pay-per-view was magic. It really was. And I'm not a fan of what AEW has been doing lately by any means. But I think for that one night, they were the best company in wrestling.
Yeah.
For sure.
Obviously, this is this is like the first full year of AEW, and obviously it still needs some work. It's definitely had some missteps, especially after the last pay-per-view, which was cringing.
That was rough.
I can't believe they got away with that. So many things that happened within one pay-per-view. It was like, yikes,
Yeah, that. I regret watching that one.
But it's going to take a while. Obviously, the guy who basically started this whole wrestling organization is not really familiar with wrestling. Obviously, he's a football and soccer owner. But anyway, going on to my favorite brother versus brother match.
Gee, I wonder what this could be.
I wonder what it can be, hint, hint. I can see it right now. Yeah. Brett versus Owen, oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start.
I'll just let you go off. Go ahead.
All right. So, originally, before getting to Survivor Series, Vince's plan were they wanted to push Bruce, and it's like, you're gonna push him? You're gonna push the teacher or the fireman or whatever the fuck he was? I'm like, give it to Owen. And if it wasn't for Brett, Owen would have never gotten that spot, as he basically sat there and persuaded Vince, like, hey, give Owen this opportunity. I could work with him, and if it doesn't work, then we'll move on. And obviously, it moved on. And, well, it didn't move on, but, obviously things went according to plan. Obviously, Owen turning heel, as he was the only guy from his Survivor Series team to be eliminated by Shawn Michaels and the Royal Knights, or whatever the fuck those guys were. And then, obviously, leading to the Royal Rumble after the holidays, everybody's rekindled things. Owen and Brett are happy brothers. Like, yeah, we didn't fight. We're gonna beat the Quebecers, no problem at all. And then, that's when Owen kicked Brett's leg out of his leg, as the famous Owen promo there. That's why I kicked your leg out of your leg. And it's like, oh, all right, well, that made sense. But it accumulated, and it turned, going into WrestleMania 10, if not the best opening WrestleMania match of all time.
Yeah, I
I
say
would,
it's the best. Yeah.
I will forever argue with anybody. You know, you could disagree with me all you want, but WrestleMania 10, you know, you couldn't do it in a better venue, Madison Square Garden. You know, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, and the fact that Owen got over in that match, that was pure storytelling. You know, Owen coming out with the Hitman shades, you know, tearing them apart. You know, he's claimed to be the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. You know, he's practically a duplicate of, you know, what Bret. But yeah, go ahead. I see you got something to say.
Yeah, I will say real quick, man. It took balls because Brett obviously won the title later that night.
Yeah.
So it took balls to actually have him lose the same night he was going to win the title clean.
Right.
So that's one of those things I'm still surprised to this day, and I commend them for putting Owen over because it was the right thing to do. And yeah, it is risky to have your new world champion lose earlier in the night. So to this day, I'm still surprised they put Owen over. That's one of those things where, like, in a good way, I'm surprised. Seriously.
But you know what? That was that was supposed to be the moment where WWE should have really catapulted Owen. Like, all right, you just got a victory over Bret at one of the biggest stages of them all. Like, let's push you to the moon. Obviously, early '94, he ended up winning a non-televised Royal Rumble match just days before the actual Royal Rumble inside the same arena that he beat Bret at Madison Square Garden. How convenient is that?
Yeah.
So for him to beat Bret at Mania, going forward to winning the 1994 King of the Ring, which really should have escalated his career right then and there. You're King of the Ring, all right, we're gonna put the strap on you, which was close. He held it for probably like a couple seconds. They don't count it in the history books, but obviously they had that lumberjack match, and it didn't count. You know, Bret ended up retaining the title. They had probably one of the best steel cage matches of all time at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And,
Is that the only 5-star cage match? For Meltzer, at least?
well, I would hope so. I mean,
Yeah. And that's I'm a big proprietor in blood in cage matches. That match didn't feature an ounce of blood. So that should go to show you how good that match actually was.
right.
It's not a match that's really talked about too often within WWE. Well, Owen's kind of a sore subject anyway for WWE, but that match is one of the greatest matches they've ever put on. And it's just like, it's really sad that it's not recognized more often by the company.
You know, I love that match. Boy, you know, I could sit here and praise Owen for everything that he's done, but like 1994, obviously that was PWI's, you know, feud of the year for '94.
Not even close. Yeah.
You know, and for them to not do anything after that, it's like, you know, obviously Owen took a detour after that because obviously he ended up winning tag team gold with Yokozuna at WrestleMania 11, which originally it was supposed to be Neidhart, but obviously he was going through substance abuse at that time. And then they ended up joining Camp Cornette, which was basically Bulldog, Owen, Vader, which was cool. I didn't mind that. You know, Cornette managing Owen. I didn't mind that at all. 97 comes along. You know, as much as he hated Bret was practically the guy that was the glue that held everybody together for the new Hart Foundation, and then including, you know, Neidhart and Pillman, and then, you know, Screwjob happened. WWF was starting to take a different direction, in which I think that should have been a second opportunity right there for Owen as soon as he came back and attacked Shawn Michaels at the DX In Your House pay-per-view. I have this so scripted in my head. It's like, could have had Owen win the title, the last episode of Raw of '97, go in to the Royal Rumble, have him face. All right, this is how I would have liked it to be. You would have had a casket match between Shawn and Undertaker, same night, but obviously that match would have led to who would face Owen later that night for the WWE Championship. Owen or no, Shawn still would have sustained the back injury from the casket. Kane would have costed the Undertaker. Shawn would have went on. He would have faced Owen. Um, obviously it would have been passed on by Triple H costing Owen the championship, so that would have led to Owen and Triple H at WrestleMania 14, Shawn winning the title, and Austin still winning the Royal Rumble match, and everything else is the same as history, the same history. So that's the way I would have seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the rivalry, but as good as it was, it's hard to say this, but I think it is a missed opportunity. It could have went on longer, and I think Owen could have been that heel champion for a long time. So, I prefer a heel Owen. I don't know about you.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
The heel Owen, should have capitalized as soon as Vince McMahon came out 2 weeks later and said, Owen, you've been spotted, come to the ring. And, you see Owen coming in, all black, sunglasses, he finally grew his beard in with the fucking goatee and, he got like fucking the snake boots on and, he's basically just talking about his life, my family, my dignity, not taking Vince McMahon's shit, and he's here to settle the score with Shawn Michaels. And, his job was basically, you practically ran Bret, Neidhart, and Bulldog out of the company. And Owen was practically just like, my job is to remain right here in the World Wrestling Federation and take care of business. And it's time for this, little nugget to, settle the score. So,
You know what really sucks to think about? Imagine Owen Hart in the Ruthless Aggression era.
You know what? It's sad too because when the whole screw job incident happened, they tore up Owen's old contract. They gave him a new contract with more guaranteed money. He had, at the time of his death, I think he had maybe like 2 years left in his contract. He would have been there in like 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
And after that, I think he would have been done. I think he would have retired. I think he would have been like a part-time wrestler, probably doing some stuff in like Japan or something like that for a while, or even like stuff in Calgary or in the independent scene. But I always said this: if Owen were to still be here today, I would have, would have loved to seen him as a trainer, like a personal trainer for like the Performance Center.
Yeah.
Or two, just because, he did it for, the 96 King of the Ring, but I think he would have did good for commentary as like a good color commentator.
Yeah. He was very much like, I just want to make my money and run. But let's say they threw a really good deal at him in like 2001. I think he possibly could have stayed a little longer, even if he was just a producer.
Yeah.
He would have contributed something, either producer, anything. Like he's gold. No matter what he's doing in wrestling, it's going to improve the product.
And you know what? I'm not even going to lie, but I think by that time, he probably would have been a bigger name than what he was in, like, 99.
I completely agree. I remember Chris Jericho saying one of the reasons he even signed with WWF was to work with Owen. Like, he wanted to work with Owen more than anything. So we could have gotten Chris Jericho. We could have gotten Edge, Chris Benoit. It's the possibilities are endless to what we could have gotten if Owen would have survived.
Yeah, and just think, he had a non-televised match like a week before his death against Kurt Angle in a dark match.
Yeah.
And just to think, if I would have put Owen in a predicament, like I would have had him face Kurt Angle when he debuted at Survivor Series instead of Stasiak. If Owen was still alive at that time, I think it would have been Owen and not Stasiak.
Yeah. Well, you don't like Sean Stasiak? Come on.
I have nothing against Stasiak. It was like his first run was forgotten as much as his second run when he fucking came back and started, having, mental issues with fucking, he was starting to hear things. Oh, Planet Stasiak, like, oh shit, it's, no, but, I could have saw Owen. I honestly could have saw Owen in probably like the 2001 Survivor Series team. Just imagine, that team assembled. Get fucking Big Show out of there. I would have had Owen. It could have been Austin, Owen, especially with the history with well, not even Austin. Well, yeah, I mean him facing Austin, against one another, but like him teaming up with The Rock, obviously those guys were those two were buddies, especially their time in the Nation. You had Jericho, which that was one person that Jericho always wanted to work with. And then, I mean, Kane and Undertaker, but that's just Kane and Undertaker. I mean, nothing really much I could say about that, but he would have been going up against guys like Angle. They would have had some personal beef right there. You could just imagine JR doing commentary like, oh, Owen broke Austin's neck at the 97 SummerSlam. That would have brought up some heat right there. It's so much endless possibilities, but instead they were like, okay, we got nothing for you, so we're gonna put you in a fucking mask. We're gonna bring the, revive the Blue Blazer gimmick.
And, there you go, right there. But
which that was probably like a better time at that point, but 99, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and drink your milk. I mean, kind of cliche off of something that probably would have been said in like the new generation in like 95, 96.
Well, it was very campy and meta, and that was the point. But my question to you, as the Owen Hart fan you are, do you think he ever would have been world champion again if he would have actually survived?
Yeah, I think so. I think, sooner or later, the whole Blue Blazer gimmick probably would have dwindled down. I think he probably would have been a main eventer by then, by at least late 99. I really don't think they would have tolerated the Blue Blazer character for any longer.
No.
I really couldn't see it by that point. I think his career probably would have took a serious toll by probably like late 2000, early 2001. Because the way I see it, another possibility that I probably would have had in mind, like what if Brett didn't get injured at Starrcade 99 and he would have came back during that invasion angle?
Yeah.
And Owen probably would have had a stare off. That would have been pretty cool. Have Brett a part of that Survivor Series team where it's like you have Brett on one side and Owen on the other.
Do you think he would have?
One gets tagged. They bring in Owen.
You think he would have came back though, Brett?
You know what? I don't know necessarily, but some way or another, one, the money.
Yeah.
Or two, Owen would have talked them into it.
You think he would have listened? I don't know. This is pretty fresh. I mean, he didn't come back. He didn't work with him until 2005. So.
Yeah, well, like even in 2005, 2006, him and Vince still had remorse because
Yeah.
if you remember, I mean, Brett did show up for the ceremony, but he didn't come out during like the whole WrestleMania ceremony.
I wonder why. That was always. I'm a huge Brett fan. So like I remember, he was inducted, which was awesome. It's my favorite Hall of Fame speech ever. But like, why not WrestleMania? I guess because it's an actual event, like pay-per-view. But like, I was like, well, you're already part of the Hall of Fame. You might as well come out and get the pop, because he would have got the biggest pop of the
Yeah,
night for sure, either him or Eddie. So, yeah. Anyway,
yeah, just so many possibilities that I always think about. It's like, oh man, what if Owen would have survived? Like, what if Owen was, I'm pretty sure it would have came down to Owen talking, Brett, coming back, Vince working out their differences. But obviously, there was more animosity because Owen died in '99, and obviously Brett was kind of like that guy who was kind of remorseful as he wished he would have stayed with the company.
yeah, and maybe Owen could have been the middleman. He could have been the mediator in the whole Vince and Brett rivalry, and maybe he could have calmed things down. Owen was a very peaceful, happy, humble guy. He didn't have an ounce of remorse or anger in him.
No.
So he could have been like, look, let's sit down and talk about this. He could have been that median, kind of like how Jim Ross was and Steve Austin and Vince in 2002. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the wrestling business would have really been different if Owen would have survived.
And it's so weird too because it's like you think about it and it's like Owen died at the end of the millennium practically, so it's like
Yeah.
99. Like you
It was
think of
only like
Owen,
a 7-month difference, yeah.
right? And you would have thought like wow, like Owen Hart in the 2000s. It's like you can't think of that because like Owen was the guy who was stuck in the 90s. So it's unfortunate because I would have probably loved to seen Owen as like would have been weird to see Owen like in the year 2000 or like 2001, and it's like because by
Yeah.
that point nobody within the Hearts were actually wrestling by that point. I mean, Bulldog was probably doing indie events. Brett was pretty much retired after his injury,
Yeah,
and
thanks
Neidhart.
to fucking Goldberg, which don't get me started. But anyway.
Yep, and Neidhart was just Neidhart, probably doing all the endless narcotics in the world, but
Yeah, it's there's two big what if questions in wrestling. Well, three. My top three what if questions: what if WrestleMania failed? What if Owen survived? And then what if Benoit didn't do what he did? So, Owen, I think he could have changed the wrestling business. He wasn't at his peak. He was getting up there in age. That's a common misconception, but I really think he was not at his peak. He really
no.
wasn't. After that Blue Blazer shit, he really could have made something of himself and other people. He could have enhanced talent like Jericho and Edge and even Rey Mysterio. Like people, like if Owen was on his way out in the early 2000s, he could have really enhanced talent. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
just,
fucking shame.
just think we could have got matches with like him and Guerrero.
Oh my god, don't even say that. Like that's like a jizz fest right there.
Like Eddie probably would have called him like a Spanish word for nugget or something like that. Like
Could you imagine a
that
heel
that
Eddie
would
Guerrero and a babyface Owen?
which brings me up to another possibility. 2006 possibilities of like Eddie versus Shawn at WrestleMania 22.
Wow, yeah, that was the plan. That would have been, oh my god. I love WrestleMania 22. But let's say we did get Eddie and Shawn. It'd be, oh my God, that match is hard to beat right there. Like I said, I don't like Shawn Hickenbottom, but I love Shawn Michaels. So, or no, Michael Shawn Hickenbottom is his full name. But yeah, as a wrestler, Shawn Michaels to me, I won't argue if you say he's the greatest. I don't agree, but I won't argue it. I won't
Yeah.
argue it. I won't argue it. But Eddie and Shawn, that right there is one of those dream matches that you couldn't even imagine. You couldn't. And we also would not have seen Rey Mysterio as world champion, though. Because we all know that Rey only won that belt and that Rumble because of Eddie. The original plan was Randy was going to win the Rumble that year and then beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. So we would have seen Randy Orton's career kind of jumpstart a year earlier because 2007 he was handed the title. So, yeah, WrestleMania 22 would have been a lot different if we had Eddie Guerrero there, for sure.
And you know what? That would have been interesting too. But you really got to think about it this way too, because like around that time, Batista got injured and he had to forfeit the championship.
Yeah.
So I think instead of Angle, I think it probably would have been Batista and Orton, kind of like the Evolution type match, where it's like, hey, both of these guys were Evolution. You know,
And hey, I'm all for that. That's fine.
that would have been great. And honestly, we probably would have saw. You know, I don't want to sit there and say not have Triple H, but maybe we could have gotten maybe Cena, Angle, and Triple H at Mania 22 triple threat.
Yeah. I mean, a triple threat is one of my favorite match types, but I don't really think it should ever be a WrestleMania main event. I think a WrestleMania main event should be one-on-one, that be-all end-all match.
Yeah.
Except for WrestleMania 30, I'll give that exception. But yeah, WrestleMania 22 was really affected. But we talked about your favorite wrestler if he had survived. What about my favorite wrestler, Benoit? I know that Benoit was on his way out, which was not a good thing to him because he was basically demoted when he was brought over to ECW. I think his last match was Elijah Burke there.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to have the ECW title at Vengeance 07. And he was really going to be that enhancement talent there. And honestly, I think for Benoit, I would have seen him kind of phase out a little bit and become a trainer. Because I think if he was alive, he'd be 90 years old and he'd still be involved in wrestling. But you also have to take into effect, when they did the autopsy, they said he only had 6 months to live anyway. He was going to have basically a heart eruption by the end of 2007. So if he didn't do what he did, he would have been dead anyway.
You know something? Maybe that's the biggest question. Like, do you think he would have known that he was dying, which maybe would have caused him to commit the acts that he did?
Oh, man. Oh, God. I could go on for hours about Benoit.
Because, you know what? Like they said, the whole, they obviously found, a note and everything. There was, notes and everything of, shit that he did. So, obviously, he kind of already had this shit planned out.
Well, oh, God. All right, my theory, I don't think I've ever revealed this, ever. My actual theory on Benoit. I know I did, a 2-hour live stream years ago. But my theory on Benoit, him and Nancy wanted a divorce. She already wanted a divorce in 2003 for domestic violence and all that. And Johnny Grunge actually was kind of the median there. but Grunge obviously died, and I think Benoit, he would be alive if Eddie was alive, 100%. I think Eddie's death broke him, and I mean, my theory is basically it got to the point where Nancy probably wanted a divorce again, and she confronted him about that. And, one thing leads to another. I have anger problems, so I understand what it's like to black out, where you get so angry to the point where you just lose control, and then you wake up, and then there's everything that happened. Trust me, I have anger issues. Really bad. Not that that's an excuse for what he did, but he had a lot of mental illness. CTE, I think concussions did have a lot to do with it. 100%. And I think he blacked out that night. He did what he did. And then he woke up. He's like, well, shit. That Friday night, he decided, I don't know what to do. And then that Saturday, I believe, I think it reached the point where he said, I'd rather my son be dead than have him live a life where his father killed his mother. So he killed Daniel, and then obviously he hung himself. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think that other people were involved. Kevin Sullivan, I don't believe in all that. Yeah, there was a point where I did believe that. I did. I'm a big conspiracy guy. But that's that one where I think it's chalked up to he killed Nancy out of anger and killed his son out of sympathy for his son, even though that's not the right decision.
Well, honestly, I think what also happened too, instead of like him like initially blacking out due to anger issue, I mean there was alcohol involved too. So I think the mix between
there were wine bottles and there was wine and beer at the scene. Yeah.
So like I think the mixture between alcohol, his testosterone being high, and probably taking as much steroids as he was probably taking at that time. Probably caused like some big mesh in demeanor, changing his demeanor, and that's practically what caused him to commit the shit that he did. And obviously when he woke up, like you said, that's what made him probably say like, well, killing Daniel and then taking his own life.
I think the most eerie part for me is that he actually tried to make the flight to vengeance that weekend. He tried to make the appearance. Imagine if he did make that appearance and he had that whole match with CM Punk, which, fuck me, that's one of my dream matches. But imagine he did win the title that night while his family was dead. Just imagine. That pay-per-view probably would not have been released on DVD. That pay-per-view would have been blacklisted because you're having a murderer on the fucking pay-per-view right there in a match. There's so many questions, but
well, I know they did. I know they did cut out some of the commentary in that match. Like there was a part where I think like Taz and Joey Styles said that Chris Benoit couldn't make it due to a family emergency, and then that's when Nitro came out. So
yeah, and that one, to this day, like I said, he's my favorite wrestler, and I spent 12 years trying to figure out what happened. I believed all the theories at one point, but with age, I'm 24 now, I reached a point where I'm like, you know what? He did it. 100%.
Yeah.
The whole Kevin Sullivan thing and Sherry Martel, I think that's all coincidence.
Right.
And and like I said, I've never really revealed that on YouTube. I've always kind of remained neutral. But yeah, that's...
Now, do you think that's another thing that probably triggered Benoit to saying fuck it was, obviously like a week prior, Sherry Martel passing away.
I don't think it's related. I think it's more coincidence.
Right.
Yeah, because Sherry Martel, I think, was a drug overdose. A lot of people like to say that she was murdered as well, but no.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you what, though. She did have a very mysterious death, because I think she died at her mother's house, correct?
It's been so long. Like, that's literally all I remember, like, throughout that month. Like, I remember Martel dying and me sitting there like, wow, like, how did she die? And then, like, all these years, like, I couldn't figure out, like, why she died, because her death was practically anonymous, like, unknown at that time.
Well, a lot of people like to say that Kevin Sullivan killed her as well, which
I doubt.
Well, it's very overlooked because of Benoit a week after, but Sherry Martel, man, I love her to death, but you look at her, there's definitely some mental illness there. There's abuse, addiction abuse, and all that. So,
well, look at her 2006.
Yeah.
Her induction speech.
Yeah.
Like, she was just going off on everybody. Like,
Dude,
even
she
fans,
was coked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, dude, like I said, I love her to death. We all have our problems, though. So,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. This is kind of my final thing on Benoit. I think the Dark Side of the Ring episodes, that was closure for me. It really was.
Yeah.
Because you heard the most raw story you could possibly hear. You heard it from David. You heard it from Chavo. You heard it from, I think Dean Malenko was involved. Chris Jericho. You heard it from everybody. Sandra, who was Nancy's sister.
Yeah.
That was closure for me. Yeah, that episode really did help me. Because, like I said, I remember when it happened. And ever since then, I was trying to figure out what happened.
Right.
And
you know what? I was pretty much the same way. Like, after the whole Benoit thing, and then watching ECW the next night, and basically Vince McMahon practically saying, like, oh, there will be, we will no longer mention the name of Mr. Benoit here tonight, yada yada. And then, I was still going on with my ways as, like, an early teenager, like, I'm not going to sit there and watch the Larry King show and figure out what the fuck happened, because, I'm a kid. I got other shit to do as a kid. I'm going to school. I'm fucking, going to the mall with my friends or something like that. So it was a mystery, a mystery for like the past 13 years. And then obviously this episode came out, and I mean, like, throughout the years, I would see like YouTube videos of like the Larry King Live show and have them, we seen like Brett talking, Steve Blackman,
Yep.
Mark Mero, and all these other guys who were practically involved in Benoit's life on the road in wrestling. But like you said, I think Dark Side of the Ring, we finally got those answers, and then David's, or Chris's son David, finally sitting down, just letting it all out. Like, just think of like how long he was concealing it for, as he was the guy who was practically overshadowed by his father's death, and then practically everybody just like looking at him like that's the murderer's kid. Like,
well, the other thing is he had a daughter, Megan Benoit, and she refuses to even associate with it. So we will probably never hear her side of the story, which I respect that.
yeah.
That's fine. I think there's only like one picture of her in existence on Google. Because I tried to find her because I was interested. I was like, holy shit, he has a daughter. But yeah, she, I don't blame her, man. She just wants to distance herself from it. And yeah, that whole thing, even the Owen episode was closure because you saw a completely different side of everything.
Let me tell you, god damn.
I could imagine how that was for you. You even got to
Yeah,
see, Martha's point of view. You even got to see the carabiner that was holding him. Like,
that was hard for me because I finally got to hear what Martha had to say. And then obviously her kids were older. Her kids were sitting there talking about their father. And I'm just sitting there like, holy shit. Like, this is the first time I'm seeing their kids since like long time, like a really long time. And then them just talking about leading into that night into the Kemper Arena. And then
yeah,
seeing the photos, seeing the evidence. And, I've seen photos leaked of like Owen Lane in the ring, lifeless. Just he's already dead right there. Like, him on the stretcher on the gurney, and you see, Jim Corderas with his hands on his head, like, what the fuck just happened? You
yeah,
see Lawler on the outside, and it's like, it's one of those like holy shit moments. And then hearing stories from like D'Lo and Godfather, like he's dead, like his face was blue, and
yeah.
how they were able to go on with the show that night. And I mentioned this on my bad booking episode. Now, I don't think I ever got to hear it from you, but just for everybody who's going to be watching this, what would you think if it was Vince's son up there? What if Shane was up there doing that? You
All
think
right.
Vince gets with the show?
Oh my God. Vince is a businessman. And, I mean, this is going to be hard to understand, but I'm an aspiring filmmaker. I'm a YouTuber. I understand business. And I understand it's difficult to send everyone home with refunds. So it goes both ways. Like, I understand having to have the show go on, but at the same time, you have people like Jeff Jarrett, who was fucking in tears during his promo before his match. Like, you have his friends performing in the ring where your friend just died. So it goes case to case, different people cope, but I think the show, I understand why it went on. I just don't know. I don't know if I would have had the show go on. I don't know. It goes both ways. It's kind of 50-50 for me. Like, part of me says, oh, fuck yeah. The show has to go on for business reasons. But at the same time, you have to understand that a lot of his friends are performing in the ring where he just fucking died. His blood was on the canvas. And a common misconception is a lot of the crowd, they didn't know he was dead. They didn't announce it. They thought it was they were confused. So
Yeah.
it's not like they had Jim Ross come on
I'm
the microphone.
I'm not sure if you've seen like during like the whole situation where they had like the cameras focused on like Jim Ross and Jerry and everything, or should I just say like Jim Ross because Jerry Lawler was out there trying to assist Owen on
Yeah.
with the EMTs and everything, but you actually seen like fans in the back of JR going like going like this, going like no, like he didn't
Yeah.
make.
I've heard a few different interviews of people who were there, and every single person that I've heard, they didn't know he was dead. A lot of them didn't even know something went wrong, which is kind of stupid if you think about it. But you have to understand, the arena was darkened when he fell because a promo was playing. So most of them were watching the Titatron, the promo when it actually happened. And if you look at a lot of the eyewitness accounts, they're like, oh, yeah, we just kind of heard a bang and we looked over. So most of the people didn't see it happen because their focus was on the screen. And I think it's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
This pisses me off thinking about this. That you have somebody. Hold on. Let me get this out quick. It pisses me off that you have somebody coming from the rafters and it's not even going to be televised. You're having him risk his life for only the crowd to see during a darkened segment. Fuck you. That's my way of seeing it. If you're going to have somebody risk their life like that, they better be either in the main event or at least televised on pay-per-view. Not off screen. His death was for fucking no reason at all.
Yeah. And, I think the biggest thing, too, which, obviously everybody was drawn to the Titantron, but, like, they usually project the sound once the match is in progress, as obviously there's, like, sound tuning, when people get slammed on the mats and everything. So I don't think it was as loud, but falling from that distance from where he came from should have made, like, a big noise where everybody was just like,
well, he also he hit the turnbuckle, so it's not as loud as him hitting the middle of the ring. Because they do put a microphone under the middle of the ring. But if you hit the turnbuckle, it's not going to be as loud. I did see one interview where he was the third row. It's actually a really, really cool interview on YouTube if you guys get a chance to check that one out. But he was third row, and he even said he was watching the screen, and kind of peripheral vision, he saw this kind of blur come down, and he could barely hear it because he did hit the turnbuckle. And there's some people that claim he was screaming on the way down. There's a lot of people that say he said "watch out" to Jimmy Corderas, who was the referee, on the way down. So I don't really know because there are a lot of different accounts, but I don't know. I do think it's bullshit though. It was a waste because you don't have somebody come down from the rafters unless it's a money match. To me, that was just a waste of time.
What I don't understand too is, they tested this shit out prior, like a couple months prior to like this event, but they were using different equipment. They were using more safer equipment, and all of a sudden this event, this was obviously added last minute. And they decided, okay, instead of having him come in like a regular harness with a hook, we're going to have a quick release that we use for fucking sailboats.
Well, the rumor is that his cape got stuck in the quick release. And as he was pulling it out. So realistically, as much as I hate to say this, it was his fault. But I say that in the nicest way possible. He didn't know. He wasn't trained properly. Like, that still is the rigger's fault. But, like, he's the one that did hit that emergency release. But that's because he didn't know, I don't blame Vince Russo. I don't know about you. Vince...
I don't blame him for the death. I kind of just look at him like, why would you add this shit last minute?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, once we already have the match planned out, that's it. Like, I know WWE's known for like last minute things and changes and everything. Like I think it was today, like an hour before the show, they had just finished the SmackDown script.
I saw Brian Alvarez tweet that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, what the fuck? All right, whatever, typical WWE nowadays, but back then it was like, for him, like all of a sudden out of the blue, just be like, hey, let's put Owen in the in the harness and everything, which he didn't do for like months. The last time we really saw him do that was at the '98 Survivor Series where he was getting fucked up by Steve Blackman.
Well, it's because the harness riggers, they just happened to be in town. And they're like, hey, is there anything you want us for? And Vince was like, well, yeah, we could. But, yeah, I don't blame Vince Russo. I don't really blame anyone, really. Unfortunately, like I said, Owen hit that emergency release. And that's not his fault. You know, it's beknownst to him.
Right.
He was just trying to get his stupid feather cape unhooked.
Right.
And he just happened to hit that release. And, you know, Jim Cornette, during the Dark Side of the Ring episode, he had said that Owen, on the way down, said, look out. And that goes to show you how great of a person Owen Hart was. And I'm a Bret Hart fan, don't get me wrong, but Owen was the most genuine of that whole family. He had so much talent. He had the most charisma as well. I love Bret, but Bret didn't have as much charisma as Owen did. And it's a shame. That none of that should have happened. It's a stupid accident. I don't know who to blame. But if you're going to have somebody come from the stupid rafters, at least have it televised. That's such bullshit. But at the same time, imagine if it was televised. Everyone would have seen it. So
that would have been.
Yeah, it's so convoluted. But as far as I know, that footage is in the vault and will never be seen. Trust me, I have looked for it vigorously. And it will never be seen. His fall. It will never be seen. The only thing that does exist is the Spanish announce table. Their audio reactions does exist, and even that's kind of sketchy. Like, you really can't hear much. It's just their reactions. You can't hear the fall. So, yeah, that's the best you can find. But yeah, it just shouldn't have happened. It's so stupid. And he's such a victim in that, too. I can't stress that enough. He's such a victim.
Yeah. It's, I'm kind of glad they finally released that. You know, as soon as I heard, like, oh, Dark Side of the Ring, Owen Hart, I was like, all right. Now I get to know what the fuck's going on. Like, what the fuck happened? But it's just crazy. You know, even, like, prior to that, you know, I think they showed, like, a photo of, like, Owen, like, as he was, like, entering the arena. That was probably one of his, like, last known photos was him entering the arena that night. So that was kind of like, wow. And then JR talking to him before the match, like, you know, like, oh, you know, I don't like heights. Like, me neither, you know, just basically going over with Owen and how Owen's demeanor was kind of just, like, off that night.
Yeah. And I have to go on a rant real quick. Never mind, I forgot. But yeah. It's just... Oh yeah, never mind. I remember my rant. For the people that say, and like I said, I'm a Bret Hart guy, but there's one thing I will always disagree with him on. Owen Hart should never be in the Hall of Fame, no matter what. That company doesn't deserve that pleasure. They don't. I 100% stand by Martha. I really do. After watching that episode, hearing her point of view, the Hall of Fame's a joke, regardless. And that being said, that Hall of Fame is only for profit. So I don't think they should ever profit off of Owen Hart's name. And I'll tell you what, that Owen Hart DVD right there is one of the worst DVDs they've ever put out. It is. It's a bullshit documentary about 20% of his life. You don't get to see the real Owen in that. I did my top 25 DVDs video like a month ago. And a lot of people ask me, why didn't I put the Owen Hart DVD? Because it's the shits. I'll quote Owen Hart there. That DVD is garbage. That's not the Owen Hart DVD anyone deserves. It may have some good matches from his career, but that's about it.
And practically all those matches right there have already been recycled on other like DVD releases anyway. It's not like we haven't seen them before. So
yeah. So every time somebody asks me if Owen will ever be in the Hall of Fame,
no,
I hope
I
not.
can't see it.
I hope not.
And I'll say that too as like an Owen Hart fan. As much as I'd like to see him, like WWE, no, I don't think they'll ever own that right to say, hey, we're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame, even though it was technically our fault for his demise. So
yeah, and let's say even Martha dies one day, I don't think his kids would allow it either.
I don't think his kids. I still don't even think Brett would.
No, fuck no.
No, it's a touchy subject. It's one subject I really hate bringing up. Is just like, oh, the night he died. But it's one of those things you really can't look past because it's one of those parts in history that just you'll never forget. It's one of those things where it happened. You're surprised it happened, and then like obviously they did the tribute show the next night on Raw, which was even more touchier. And that was it. After that, it was like, all right, we're not going to mention this guy no more. We're not going to mention what happened to him, and just move on with the show. And I can only imagine how hard it was for guys like Edge, Jarrett, especially Jarrett, because Jarrett was practically his road buddy at the time during that time period, because obviously they were tag team champions. They were, tag teaming for a little bit. They had on the road stories. They were on the road practically half that time until he died. So
yeah, his promo, he was in tears. He broke kayfabe 100%.
yeah.
He didn't even give his promo. He was like, "Oh, you're in my prayers, Owen." So I don't know that. I know you and I could probably do this, but for an average viewer, name one match from Over the Edge '99. You probably couldn't do it.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the only match I could probably recall was the opening match, which was actually pretty good, which was D'Lo and Henry versus Pac and Kane, which was that's the opening match. Obviously, it's like, all right, you didn't know what the hell was going to happen that night. Nobody remembers Undertaker winning his, I don't know, third WWF championship against Stone Cold from Over the Edge. Nobody's going to remember Jarrett and Deborah taking out Val Venus and Nicole Bass. Nobody's going to remember that shit. Like, everybody's going to look at Over the Edge and automatically going to think of Owen Hart. That's it.
I know I talked about it, but would you have continued the show?
It's touchy, but I mean, I kind of understand from a business standpoint where it's like, it'd be hard to just like refund everybody, and especially people who are watching on pay-per-view. They automatically just like shut the cable boxes off, or just like shut the show off, and everybody's just sitting there like, what the fuck happened? And you figure hundreds to thousands of people are going to be going through their cable providers talking about, why'd you shut off the event? Why'd you shut off the event? Only for them to find out the next night that Owen Hart died from a fall the night prior.
Yeah.
So they had to do it in some way or form. So for them to continue on with the show, yes, but in that fashion where you still had somebody's, blood on the mat. I mean, don't you guys carry spares? But then at the same time, I understand that the boarding under it was practically shattered from his fall.
Yeah, there was a dent from in the canvas. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I could definitely understand that because that probably would have stuck out like a sore thumb. And then, it's hard. It's hard to even say, but, I mean, and then you got people who are like, well, Owen would want this show to continue. Are you kidding me? The guy just fucking fell to his death. He probably got up to heaven and he was probably like, no, cancel that show right now. Like, no, like, you guys killed me. Like, no, he wanted to want that to happen. No way. But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to call. And then obviously you had the promo where, Jared and Deborah, Jared's just like, Owen, I'm praying for you, buddy. Deborah and Jeff couldn't keep their composure. You even have, oh, what the fuck's his name? Wow, why can't I think of the guy who's conducting the interview? Kevin Kelly. Even Kevin Kelly was just like, he didn't even say anything about it because he had interviewed Owen previously that night about the match.
Yeah, and you had a lot of the wrestlers, like, he was literally wheeled past them, already dead, having CPR done on him.
Like I said, Godfather was like, when Owen was wheeled past him, he was blue in the face. He was practically gone already.
Yeah, he was. So it's just like it's like a joke. Oh, your best friend just was wheeled past you, blue. Go on, you have a match. So.
Right.
From a business standpoint, I understand why they didn't cancel it, but at the same time, he was one of the most liked people in the company, if not the most liked. So many people just they weren't feeling it that night,
Right.
I get it. If my friend died in the ring, I'd be like, yeah, I don't really feel like going out tonight, pal. But
right. And you know what? Another thing that's so touchy about it, which I don't think it was brought up, but one of the last people to talk to Owen was Harley Race.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Harley was the last guy to talk to Owen, and I guess they had like some type of like brief, because Harley was from that area. I guess he was living around that area, and I guess him and Owen had like a brief conversation, like like, don't fall up there tonight, like shit, shit like that. They were having like a brief conversation. I think it's on the that Owen DVD with the Wrestling with Shadows DVD.
Okay.
If you got,
Yeah.
I think it's mentioned on there. I think Harley talks about it, saying he talked to Owen that night that it happened because I guess Owen was on his way to the Raptors when he bumped into Owen. But yeah, it's definitely a touchy subject.
No.
And
Why is it that our favorite wrestlers have touchy subjects?
You know what? I have no idea, but at the same time, I don't want people who are watching this to get the wrong idea. Like, hey, your favorite wrestler is dead, and that's probably the only reason why you're a fan of him. No, that's not the case at all. I liked Owen when I first discovered him. When I discovered Owen, I didn't know he was dead. I was like, oh, that's Bret Hart's brother. The first time I watched WrestleMania 15, I was like, Owen Hart. I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's Bret's brother. And then I figured out how he died, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
well, I was a huge Benoit fan before he even died. It's I grew up with him, and I remember in 2007, I will never forget turning on the USA Network and just seeing Vince in the ring, and I'm like, what the fuck's Vince doing in the ring? He's supposed to be dead, because that was supposed to be that big memorial show. And I'm just like, what the fuck's going on? Because I did not grow up with internet personally. I didn't. So that was when I actually discovered the whole Benoit thing, was Monday Night Raw. And I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if it was like somebody killed him or if it was like carbon monoxide. Nobody knew. And it wasn't until later that night and Tuesday that's when the stuff came out. See, Benoit was always my favorite.
Yeah. I always liked Benoit. I mean, obviously, like throughout that time of wrestling, I was kind of switching back between like WWE and TNA as TNA was starting to become a little bit more of a hot commodity at that time since
Oh yeah.
they were hot at that time.
Yep.
But yeah, when I found out about Benoit, I remember it was like I think school was done with, and just finished my first year of middle school and everything, and
Yep.
I remember Night of Champions happened the night before, and I was like, all right, I'm ready for Monday Night Raw. Let's see what happens. And then all of a sudden, you beat that with your
Yep.
face, and it's like I kind of just like sat there and I paused, and I was like, what? I remember I ran into my living room and told my mom. I was like, Ma, I was like, Benoit died, and see, Vince talking, and then you had, some of the superstars, sharing their thoughts and moments about Chris. They were sharing some of his moments from when he was in the ring. Like I remember specifically, Taz was calling a Pegasus Kid match. I'm not sure who he was facing, but I remember they mentioned like Pegasus Kid, and then they showed him winning the world title from WrestleMania 20, and yeah, I just remember there, and I'm like, I seen Vince, and that's where I kind of find out, like, that was like the time where I was like, okay, Vince never really died. What the
Yep.
fuck is going on
Yep.
here?
I
And
agree.
that was kind of like, oh, I get it now. Like, this is storytelling. Like, all right, now I
Yep.
get it. But like the whole Benoit thing, I was just kind of like, wow, he died. I was like, and like that was somebody I never imagined, dying so, at the peak of his career, while, like you said, it was still winding down. But at the same time, I was a kid at that time. If I saw Benoit on my screen, I was happy to see him. I always enjoyed seeing Benoit. Same way I was when I saw guys like Angle. Same way I was when I saw guys like Mysterio and Edge, because I was a SmackDown guy.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing those guys in particular was what made my childhood. Um, I didn't really give a shit about Raw. I mean, I liked Raw.
Yep.
Raw had some big moments, but when it came to SmackDown, I just loved the atmosphere. I loved the arena, the setup. They had the SmackDown fist breaking through the glass, and you had the WWE symbol on top. I loved the intro, whether it was the rap, uh, the rap intro or Drowning Pool, or I think that's who was singing the theme at the time.
Yeah, it was Rise Up by Drowning Pool.
Yep. And like prior to that, you had like Marilyn Manson's
Beautiful People.
Beautiful People, which I loved till this day. Um, yeah, SmackDown was a big hot commodity in my childhood. So like when I say I like Angle, I love Angle. Like Guerrero, Benoit, Mysterio. I would say Taker, but like I like Taker, but I wasn't like huge on Taker, but I admired his presence, like the way he was, like, oh, the dead man, like I just wasn't.
It's it's one of those things where you respect him more than you like him.
Yeah, exactly. But at that time, I actually did enjoy his biker gimmick more than his dead man gimmick, and that
Yeah, okay.
a lot of people would probably be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, no, because like when I started watching wrestling, that's the character he was.
Yeah.
He was the biker gimmick. I had no idea about this dead man bullshit he was pulling. I figured, oh, the guy got buried alive. Now he's a dead man walking. I had no idea about his past until, obviously growing up and doing my history. Like, oh, he actually did this shit before. He was actually dead at one time. Like, all right, I get it.
He
But,
was dead at one time.
it's like, I loved that version of Taker because that was him. And then I figured that's where the storyline was. He got buried alive. Now he's dead, and now it's like this fucking ghost coming back to haunt Kane. That's what I figured. I was like, oh, that's cool as fuck. But now I understand as I'm older. So
We should probably wrap this up. We're at 2.5 hours.
Hey, you know what? That's good. Rick, I hope you're watching this. You're going to be a happy man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, dude, it's always fun talking to you. So.
all right. So, let's wrap this up. Um, social media wise, obviously you guys know where to find me. Facebook, Instagram, and of course you can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Dan94. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, especially if you're going to be watching my videos and you're not subscribed. What are you doing? Hit that button.
Yeah, I've given up. Just type in the DVD Freak. If you see the blue CM Punk symbol, you got me. So, yeah, that's about it.
All right.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It went really long, but it's always fun talking to you, and we always have new content coming out. We had Wrestling Rampage yesterday, which shout out to those guys. Those guys are always awesome. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. For now, we will see you later. Peace.